from this movie is that we look more critically at the people that we elect, the people that we give our power to or our trust to. And that's not necessarily to become cynical or non-trusting, but really it's this core issue. We have not constructed our society, and I'm talking about the world, the global world. Our systems of power and our laws are not meant for children. They're meant to retain and control power. And until we shift away from that, we're going to get worse outcomes because these people who are running the world are empowered. There is nothing to impede their desires, their wants, their control. So my part as a filmmaker, not as a crusader, not as an activist, just as a filmmaker, was to say, this is what I see, this is what I know to be true, and this is what I also hope for.
How did you stumble on this? How did you come to these conclusions?
Well, I would say this. It's been a long time coming, but the Democratic primary, where I watched Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders closely, and I saw what was being done to the Sanders supporters, how there was lies and manipulation going on daily. The lies and manipulations about crowd sizes and donations, and ultimately saw the rigging of the primary such to a level and degree that they actually shot themselves in the foot.
Yeah.
Not because Sanders should have won or he did win, but simply because she lost by such a landslide in the actual vote count that there was no momentum going into the general other than for people to throw their support behind her against Trump. And when Donald Trump was elected, that kind of blew a hole through reality for me, such to the level and degree that I panicked, right? Like I think a lot of people may have panicked. But then I started going back and looking through history. It sent me on a journey in the summer of 2017. We were planning on doing a project in Australia. My business partner, Edgar Bravo, was over there. And I just decided I was going to binge watch YouTube. I was going to read books. I was going to learn everything I could about the true history of our country that had been hidden from us. Now, I didn't know that at the time. I just knew that there were things that had happened during 9/11 that didn't add up. There were other events. I kind of bought partisan narratives for a large majority of that time. But then when I started going back to the murder of JFK and World War I and II, and looking at how where the money went and who it came from, and the formation of the central bank. I mean, you just start, it's just a cascade and it accumulates where all of a sudden you start to understand why we're here, why there is a failure in government, why is there a failure in our institutions, how is it that children in the adoption agency are I mean, it's just, it's unreal, it's unthinkable what all of these things that are guided by our most humans' best interest and love to care for another kid, and how child protective services is used to weaponize, how the border is used to promote human trafficking and is rewarded by hundreds of billions of dollars to these companies and corporations or organizations that are set up as 501c3s who get paid per head for how many kids that they hold. And there's no paperwork. And everybody in Washington, D.C. knows this. So it's like, and then I saw the Podesta emails because I kind of ignored all that. I went back and looked at it and I go, holy crap. We have Laura Silsby trying to get kids out of the country in Haiti with no paperwork and documentation. She gets arrested and Hillary Clinton intervenes on her behalf to get a reduced sentence. And then I looked back at, you know, what happened when she was at the State Department with the security detail being ditched with that ambassador and him being entertained by young underage prostitutes. So it sickened me. It was like, I don't care who, I mean, I do care to a degree, but I don't care who of what political party is involved or not. It's just that the idea that these individuals can go unchecked, and they have a media industrial complex to completely cover up the crime. I mean, through either deflection, obfuscation, misdirection, false flag, whatever you want to call it. They put up fronts to stop, to impede any further looking into these things. And everything else is a conspiracy theory. Of course, there are people out there that exaggerate. Of course, there are people that lie. There are people that are completely. I mean, I've learned about counter intel or I guess controlled opposition. I mean, I'm just looking at facts. I'm looking at facts and events that have been documented, and I couldn't believe it. And then when I went back in time and looked at how the occult and where it goes into families, and we're talking about dissociative disorder and how that's like a high priority or like a privilege to have dissociative disorder, ties into MK Ultra. I mean, all these things that were taboo, that were conspiracy theory, that I didn't believe in, that I thought was, this was nuts. I could only take so much, but I had to focus on the core of the fact that there were these people out there who are getting away with the soul murder of children by the millions. And I said, you know what? I don't care, if this quote ruins my Hollywood career. I don't want anything to do with those people at all. I've been out here for 18 years. I've seen a lot of stuff. I've seen a lot of stuff in my time. I've been around people that are sociopaths. I've seen it in young people, old people, people who are beautiful. They don't even look like Harvey Weinstein. They're the most dangerous ones because they're charming, they're elegant, they're intelligent, educated, all of that. And it just sickened me to my core. So I guess it was an emotional reaction, and learning about how I'm not saying we're helpless. We just have yet to realize our own power, both in our mind and our heart. And when I see people who hit their kids, that's not the worst thing, but obviously that's something. And I couldn't fathom, beyond pedophilia, how horrific that is, and how those people justify it, how they bait kids and trap them and play with their minds. But this other level where we're talking about murdering of babies, eating their body parts, drinking their blood, and the belief in that, and that comes from like black magic, that goes back thousands of years. I just couldn't sit down and say, okay, I've learned all this, but now I'm going to turn away and not do something about it. I just feel it's a really important topic that, people are uncomfortable to talk about, and I understand why. And I'm not saying you're going to deep dive into all this information overnight and feel good about yourself, because now that you know it, you don't. You have to pace yourself. But then also the other side of it is to look at how amazing we all are in our capacity, human beings, to love. I've met and talked to satanic ritual abuse survivors who, in spite of everything that's done to them, and there is no way, like you can conceive of how they endured watching dismemberment of children in front of them, and being blamed for that as a child, and yet wanting to love their parents, and their parents are, sociopaths. How, at the end of the day, as adults, knowing that truth, they still want to love. They want to find love. They want to be connected to human beings. And I said, you know what? That is the truth. The light inside each and every one of us that we all have, that we're all born with. If you believe in a creator of any kind, doesn't mean that you're religious, but you believe in a creator of any kind that creates a being that has the capacity and the want to love and care for another human being, even if you look at it from a health standpoint, it has enormous health benefits versus hatred and wickedness, and all that has enormous detriments to your health. But that alone, the idea that you have that capacity born in you that needs to be nurtured as a child, that says there's something greater going on. And that power that we have to care for each other, to care for other species of beings on this planet, and have conscious, good feelings and emotions, and it's not really a choice. It's almost a compulsion. It's like not knowing. Like when you're in a loving, caring environment as a child, you feel safe. You don't feel the world is coming after you and frightened. You don't. You have a strength to you. You can call it naivety. Some people do, but I'm talking about like the love inside of somebody that is pure and will never be betrayed. And so that was like, for me, it was that child in me and the child I see in others, and holding on and loving and caring for that child so much that there is no other way out for us. We have to do this. We have to find the strength within ourselves, stand up to these monsters, unite together. Because our love, my belief is our love is far greater than their evil and their wickedness, so much to the point that in spite of all their efforts, we're still here on this planet and we're still holding together. As much as there are upheavals and uprisings, there is an inherentness within each person to care for their own kid. You have to really make an enormous effort to destroy that people.
You know, that's so true. The effort that they go to, you know, and I've been making notes here, you know, as we've been talking. The film touches on the heroin industry, you know, the heroin addiction. And that's just so government controlled. It's just so, you know, it's by the opium industry and the pharmaceutical industry and the police. It's all controlled. They want that. This whole business about this immigration, this caravan coming up where they take these kids and they put them in cages, traumatize these kids for months and months, creating monsters. You know, these kids are going to come out of there damaged and traumatized. This is all by design. Everything they're doing, the movies, the film, the TV. But we're going to have to take a commercial break. And like you said, though, even with all that going on, deep within our soul, we all want peace. We want to love each other. We want to care for each other. We want a fair deal. And everybody wants to live in harmony. But just that outside force, man, just trying to cause chaos, everything we do. And who can be behind that, you know, other than the Satan, you know, and the devil or whatever that is. You know what I mean? It's all right there. We got to take a commercial break, though. With John Paul Rice, a very insightful man, very guys tuned in. The film we're talking about today is A Child's Voice. He's got a production company called No Restriction. No Restriction. NoRestrictionAds.com. I can't read my own handwriting. We'll be right back after these messages with more of John Paul Rice and A Child's Voice. The Opperman Report is brought to you by SubhashTechnosis.com. Subash Technosis is a search engine optimization and website design company. They're located in India, so you know you're going to save a lot of money and get top quality service. They offer all sorts of business process outsourcing, data entry, banking BPO services, recruitment process outsourcing, software testing, offshoring, research network, customer care, press release, content writing and distribution, and much, much more. Now you can get a hold of Subash Technosis by email at info@subhashtechnosis.com. Their website is www.subhashtechnosis.com, and their Skype is ANUSHASUBASH. Check out CartKing.com, 877-986-7771. Have you ever thought about opening your own mobile cart or kiosk business? Perhaps your current business wants to add multiple point-of-sale locations across the country quickly. Maybe the facility you manage could kickstart revenue by adding coffee, food, or retail services, like let's say you own an office building or a warehouse. Put one of these carts there in the lobby. Well, CartKing.com can be the answer to your needs. CartKing.com is a North American designer and manufacturer of the finest mobile retail coffee and food carts and kiosks money can buy. For 20 years, CartKing.com has been working with clients and corporations across America to provide indoor and outdoor carts and kiosks for any application. From large, heated, and secure outdoor retail or food kiosks to smaller, more mobile coffee kiosks or coffee stations, coffee carts, CartKing.com designs and builds them all. Carts and kiosks are fun, and so are the dozens of designs on the website, CartKing.com. Please visit today at CartKing.com or just call them at 877-986-7771. Tell them Ed Opperman sent you and you get a good deal. Remember, all these shows on Awake are brought to you by emailrevealer.com. You can go to emailrevealer.com and get a copy of my book, How to Become a Successful Private Investigator.